Hey there, friend. I've got a favor to ask you before we get to the show. I don't do this enough, and someone much smarter than me in marketing has suggested that we try this. So, if you could please, if you're on YouTube, if you'd like this video, subscribe to our channel, hit that bell notification so that you get new videos. We don't just do a podcast. We also have a lot of how-to videos and product showcase videos on our YouTube channel at youtube.com/homebrew happy hour. If you're an audio-only listener, which the vast majority of you are, if you could, please leave us a review wherever you're listening to us to. A lot of y'all use Apple Podcast. Leave us a review. Spotify, iHeartRadio, Google Podcast, Pocket Cast, Podbean. I know one of y'all uses that because I see the statistics. Wherever you downloaded this from, if you could leave us a review, it would be greatly appreciated by us, and it would help us grow the channel and spread our reach of home brewing fun and shenanigans. So, with all that, please enjoy the show. Today's show is brought to you by Imperial Yeast. You hear us gushing over Imperial Yeast all the time, and that's because their yeast performs for us in every batch that we brew. Imperial Yeast is adored by commercial breweries and home brewers alike. Their pitch right pouches are jam-packed with over 200 billion fresh yeast cells, guaranteed to deliver flawless, fast fermentations every time. Imperial Yeast strains are grown by a team of pro brewers and home brewers who live to help other brewers learn more and ferment better. Join any recipe receiving tier of our Super Duper Homebrew Club and get a free upgrade to premium Imperial Yeast with every recipe kit that ships out to you. Learn more at homebrewhappyhour.com/club and come brew with us.
Entertaining shows with content that spreads information and sparks discourse throughout the community. This is the Pearl Media Network.
An interview with Lorena Evans from Brewer's Friend. This is Homebrew Happy Hour, episode 259. Well, hello there, and welcome to the Homebrew Happy Hour. This is the show where we supply the answers to your homebrewing questions and discuss all things related to craft beer. If you have a question you would like us to discuss on a future episode, go to homebrewhappyhour.com and click on that submit a question link at the top of the page, or now you can call or text them in by using 325-305-6107. I am your host, Joshua Stubing. I am joined as always by the President, Resident, Chief Keg Washer of KegConnection.com, Mr. Todd Burns, and the lovely, always lovely and always nice to me, and never has a mean thing, no, not a mean bone in her body, complimentary, the beautiful Lorena Evans. Lorena, how are you doing?
I'm doing well. Thank you very much.
No, thank you. No, thank you for all the compliments.
You forgot to say she was from Brewer's Friend, though. You said
no. I said it at the top.
Like, oh, you did?
I said Lorena.
Because I just want to say that she is our friend as well, not just Brewer's.
That's absolutely.
And we are.
What do you think about the Kolsch that Josh and I brewed?
Josh got credit.
You said my name first. Oh,
it is wonderful.
Josh actually did a little more work on it than I did.
That's why it's so good.
But he's claiming that he did like 90%, and I would say it was 51.
The hardest part, Lorena won't believe me because she's seen my work ethic the last day that she's been here, and she's like, he didn't help. You don't have to lie. I know he didn't.
No, I know Josh didn't help, Todd.
No, what do you think about the Kolsch? Because that's Josh's favorite beer.
It is really delightful.
Isn't it?
It's good. Clear, crisp, sweet malt flavor, but not sweet.
Yeah.
Nice, dry, great finish. Very good beer.
So what we did with this one, we're fans of liquid yeast, and we'll talk later about your preferences and all that, but we like Imperial. They always finish fast, and we use Dieter. And what we did on this one, Owen, in case if you're watching, just don't listen to this part, because they like us using fresh pouches every time. We didn't harvest yeast as much as we pitched this batch on top of the cake from the batch before it.
Oh.
So you're the fermenting expert. This is drier than the first version.
Yeah, so the reason for that is that we were brewed a batch of Kolsch for a party, and then we decided, since I took all the beer for the party, I felt bad, and so we brewed another batch so I could give James and Josh one, and we just basically poured it right on top.
Does that have, what kind of effect does that have? Are you not a fan of it? You're rolling your eyes.
I'm rolling my eyes because experts will tell you not to do that. That's overpitching probably. And I do it. Not as often as I used to, but I have done it in the past. The theory is if you're going to do that, to go from a lower OG to a higher OG. Like, for example, if you're making a lager.
Being attacked by a bee. Oh, we're outside, by the way.
Yes, beautiful evening here in Texas.
Sorry, I interrupted because
No.
If you're going from lower,
Right, and so like if you say like you're going to do 3 gallons of a Vanna Lager,
okay,
and then you're going to do 7 gallons of a Doppelbock,
right,
you would have enough yeast then to pitch. So that would be.
it wouldn't be over pitching. You wouldn't do 1 for 1, is what you're saying. You're not supposed to.
Ideally, exactly. That's what the experts will tell you to do.
To be fair, though, we actually drained a lot from the bottom of the fermenter before we did it.
Yes, you did.
So it wasn't like all the yeast. But to clarify the beer, we always dump most of it out. So it's just kind of what was left over.
Yeah.
But James actually did this 5 times in a row as an experiment one time.
And they're all fantastic.
All fantastic.
Well, the 5th one, it was starting to.
He thought he noticed a sweeter flaw, and I say flaw. He noticed what do you call it? A degradation of quality or something. He has a bigger vocabulary, but you believe it or not. And I forgot how he said it, but he did not. Once the 5th generation happened, he was like, I'm not.
And I don't know. I mean, obviously pro breweries will do this. I know I was at a brewery in Minneapolis. I believe it was Summit. They have a microbiologist on staff.
Oh, that's
So, right. She's in her yeast room, and this was a number of years ago. And so, there really isn't going to be any.
He's not going to bite me, is it?
I don't think bees bite.
Yeah, they do.
I think they sting.
That's fun.
He wants your beer. He heard how good it was.
Oh, that's not even a bee. That's not even a bee. That's a yellow jacket.
No, that's a bee.
No, it's not.
Oh,
I bet you $5.
no, it's definitely a bee.
No, I bet you that's not a bee. That's a yellow jacket.
So you guys want to talk about beer today at all? I'm just wondering.
The yellow jacket came over here. Go.
That's fine.
Tom, quit being here. Use my hat.
You can't kill a bee.
Here, slap it.
No, I'm not swimming.
Oh, I just paid.
You just hit your boss. You just.
You went away. Come on.
Okay,
Come on. I'm not editing that out either.
Are you ready to define Matt as a hornet now?
If
that bee comes back and stings me, you're fired.
This is the secret.
Again.
Yeah, again. You can't fire me twice today. Anyway, so what are the characteristics then of over pitching? Like what? Because I think
this is not what I would say is over pitched.
Okay.
The one thing that came to my mind is, and maybe this is a symptom of it, but you mentioned that the final gravity is a little bit lower. It's not over attenuated at all, but
yeah.
It's freshly kegged.
So,
if it was overly attenuated, would we know now already?
You would have finished in a lower final gravity.
So it actually
dry.
is not. The one before this was slightly lower.
It was.
It was 1.007. I know, and it was sweeter. We don't understand why. Yeah,
we're not smart, and we don't have refined palates, obviously.
Yeah.
That's why I like you guys so much.
I think it made very little difference, and I would do it again. I think I would do it again. Yeah.
Yeah. And, I don't know. You'd probably, to really get a really great answer from an expert, they probably want to know, did you pitch how many milliliters of yeast and how, it wasn't old. You went from one right to the other. So it wasn't it sat in a fridge or something.
We put 4 pouches of Imperial in the first batch.
15 gallons?
It was about 17 and a half.
Okay.
So we thought, well, we'll put an extra one in since we're doing more.
Mm-hmm.
My guess is that you might have even underpitched that first batch.
It sounds like it, right?
Right, sounds like it in hindsight. Don't they say, I don't have it right in front of me, but a pro brewer lager type pitch, because you did a hybrid, right?
Yeah, but it's it's that Imperial, so it's got a lot of yeast.
It's got more
pouches.
yeast than
it's not.
Yeah,
it's
200 billion.
200 billion.
I think we did everything.
They counted.
perfectly.
And in our
Josh,
nice,
what a great job.
You did a good job.
in our nice new fruit glasses,
A new fruit
stanges.
That's right.
They're wonderful. And don't forget the person that helped kegged it.
Yeah, you. I
Very
did all.
good job.
Yeah, you should have
Very
seen
good.
all the work I was doing. It was. I was having to field questions for this because when we talked about doing the episode with you, Todd was like, "You have questions for her, right?" And I was like, I don't. And he goes, well, you don't think that'd be a good idea? And I said, no, that's a fantastic idea.
Too bad you didn't think of it.
Too bad I didn't think of it. Oh my goodness.
So
we got to do that
what a
outside
beautiful
more
day, huh?
frequently.
We're doing a podcast outside. Have we ever done this before?
No, we did one time a live stream of us playing music out here on the porch. That's the last time we did out here.
What's a beautiful December day.
Did you want a cigar as well?
I didn't get a cigar.
Right there. And
I didn't either.
You don't smoke though.
That's true.
You told me. And Ashton Senorita. It's like an ascot kind of hybrid cigar. I like it. It's a quick smoke. You need a lighter?
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, you need everything. We got to do podcasts outside more often. I can smoke.
That's great.
And drink and smoke. And it's also almost 5:20 p.m. and beautiful sunset, like we said at the ranch. If you're an audio only listener, which the vast majority of our audience is, it's worth checking out the view just for a half a second. That bee's over my head, isn't it?
Yep.
Yeah, because he knows you hit him.
So
Yeah, he does.
Yeah.
All right.
Thank goodness he's going to get you this time.
Yeah,
though.
no, now he's bothering Lorena.
Yeah,
What's
but
up
it's not going to bother her.
And here's the weird thing. You already had to tell me I'm crazy. That's a bee on her. It's not the same thing that was bothering you.
No,
that's
what was there before was a bee. I used to raise bees with my dad. I know what a bee looks
He has
like.
a story for everything. Well, I used to do it.
I did.
But
We
you know what
used
the
to raise
truth is?
bees,
Your
but-
dad has done everything.
His dad.
I mean, if you say my dad hiked the Andes by himself alone
Yeah.
when he was 80, I would believe it. I mean, anything you tell me,
Anything.
your dad has done.
I
Sorry,
agree.
I got to throw this for the dog.
No, you're good. So I'm going to ask some questions
Yes,
before you
please
starting
do.
off. To catch up, we haven't had you on for 2 years?
Has it been that long?
Over 2 years, I believe. The last time you actually came on, it was that Q&A. You helped out for our Trub Club. That's how it's pronounced, right? It's Trub.
That's how you pronounce it.
Go ahead, correct me.
Trub and club do not rhyme.
No, I know, but Trub
Trump
does.
Club does so, and that's how we pronounce it here in Texas.
So
That is true. I'm in Texas.
we haven't had you on in a while. So catching listeners up to date, first off, most people actually know you from Homebrew Talk if they've been on the internet as a homebrewer for a while. Yooper is a well-known Homebrew Talk moderator or admin, both,
Yes, but
right? Like
I didn't know yours was Yooper.
yeah.
that's what she's
Oh,
always
okay.
been. Yeah,
I didn't know that.
She's
Cool.
You've been on Homebrew Talk longer than I have.
You're the person that used to say that stuff to me.
Yeah,
Wow.
And you still kept coming back.
Yeah.
and who Texas Brewer, TX Brewer?
Yeah, TX Brew.
Was that the owner?
Yes, it
Okay.
is.
Okay. That's I always didn't know because the owner, who we all know, and I won't name names because
Tex Brew.
he appreciates anonymity though from his.
He does.
I always thought it was him, but I never approached it because the way he writes is like so detached. You know what I mean? Like I want to get personal, be like, hey man, yeah, I know it's you, but I don't because I didn't actually know.
And he's actually going to be here later.
In an hour,
Yeah.
a couple hours.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can't wait to see him. I haven't seen him.
He
in a
whose
while.
name we cannot say
Yeah,
will be here.
He's basically
like in an hour.
Voldemort. It's
And you
I
want-
can say Voldemort.
You can say what?
I said he's basically Voldemort, he who shall not be named. But I can say Voldemort because he's not real. But this guy's real. He just appreciates.
How do you know he's real?
Now you're. I haven't look. It's not that kind of party tonight. We're not doing shrooms at the ranch. Anyway, so what do you brew? What's your brew setup? Has anything changed in regards to your setup since we talked? Because I know you've told me earlier today you're even considering changing up to a smaller footprint. Like
Absolutely.
So what are you brewing on right now?
Right now, I still am brewing on the same system. It is an all-electric half-barrel Herms made out of kegels.
Right. That's so cool, by the way.
Yeah.
It is way cool. And I've been all-electric since, I believe, 2007.
You were early on that
I
whole
was.
trend.
I was.
I feel like electric brewing didn't really take off for the last 5 years or so.
I
Yeah,
wonder if I'll
well,
downsize someday and brew less beer.
I bet not.
no. Well, I thought I wouldn't. And I went 5 gallons. Then I think I still had a cooler mash tun until maybe 2010 or so. And then I went to a kegel bottom draining because for bigger batches, if you want to do 11 gallons of IPA, you really need the mash tun space,
Right. Right.
Yeah.
And so I did that for a while. And then I realized that beer's really, really, really heavy. And I'm getting older. And so now I'm back to 5-gallon batches, and I've been contemplating even doing some like either 3-gallon batches.
No.
Or 8-gallon batches, and then fermenting in kegs, because then you can do all pressure transfers, no glass, nothing heavy, no pumps. The other thing I've really done, though, this is interesting, is I had some problems with my HLT. And my friend who helped me build it he was really busy and not available. So I started also using a bag in my mash tun a while ago, even though I have a really excellent false bottom. With the bottom draining, occasionally some of the fine particles would collect in the bottom and I'd get some clogging with my pump. So I started using a bag. So it's a brew in the bag without actually bringing a traditional brew in a bag. Well, then I went to 5-gallon size batches, and I realized I have enough space in there for no sparge, full volume brewing. So I am doing right now mostly 5-gallon batches, full volume, no sparge.
So do you double mill without a sparge?
Not really. No, I don't double mill, but I've always crushed pretty fine, especially since I've added the bag.
Yeah.
So I think the last time I measured it, it was 0.029. It must be millimeters.
Yeah. Don't ask me. I'm bad at math and science.
It's not math.
Well, I just can't convert. I'm bad at everything.
Apparently, you're bad at English.
Yeah, bad at English, too. I'm going to edit that part out.
Yeah. He was an English major.
I dropped out of college.
I don't know why.
Oh, maybe because he was bad at English. Sorry. Sorry.
So anyway, insults aside. No, probably not. But anyway, so I've been kind of mashing fine. And my efficiency was always 72 to 75% brew house anyway.
Mm-hmm.
And so now it's about the same.
Okay.
And my brew day is so much shorter because even batch barging takes time.
Yeah.
Now I mash right before I go to the keg, the keggle to boil. I do a quick recirc and that's it.
You don't squeeze the bag?
A little bit after.
So you're a squeezer?
It's not so much a squeezer or a pulley, but it's just as the bag sits in there before I dump it all, I will drain the last bits out of it and give it a little push with my mash paddle and dump that in there too. So.
In our community, there's just it's not even a big debate. There are people who say you squeeze the bag and there are people who say you don't squeeze the bag. Do you have an opinion?
I do, because I squeeze the bag.
Yeah.
The thought is that you would extract tannins from doing that. However, really tannin extraction is a function of temperature, time, and pH.
Right.
So we're not talking about a whole length of time giving a little squeeze.
Sure.
There's no more husk in there at squeezing than there was before you squeezed. Also, my pH, my mass pH is almost always 5.25 to 5.5. So I really don't see, and the quality of wort I have is pretty good.
Yeah.
If I would have had any detrimental effects, I probably would have not continued to do it.
Yeah.
So I guess I do have an opinion, Josh.
If formulated by science.
Experience, not science.
That is the scientific method, though, is what you just described. Like you did the numbers and you repeat and able to take notes, and that's basically the scientific method. I'm right this time.
I think it's anecdotal evidence, but that's okay. Well, just agree.
But if you do it over and over and have the same results, right? That's pretty scientific, no?
I don't know. I'm really not a scientist.
No, me
I'm married to a scientist, so I obviously take profit.
Can I just mention how good your breakfast stout clone is, Josh?
We're enjoying all my.
Oh, and we told her that we're fairly confident she actually created this recipe.
She did.
You don't remember creating it, right?
Until you reminded me. I did not.
So I think we should mention. Were y'all done? Because I couldn't tell.
Go for it.
We've been done a long time.
So you created a lot of the recipes that we have brewed for many years, and we want to thank you. Cheers for these wonderful, wonderful recipes.
Good, and I can come here and drink it anytime.
That's right. I just come down here.
Truly, I guess he doesn't want to.
Oh, I guess. How many cheers I got to do today? Jeez.
So yeah. No, you really are an artist at creating recipes.
I appreciate
you do a great job.
I'll segue his butt kissing into a question. Did you begin because all the recipes that we had sold back in the day when we were in the ingredients business and we had those, was recipe creation something that you sought to do, or was it something that you were solicited and then found you had a knack for it?
Yes.
to both?
Yes. What happened was, first of all, I do create recipes for companies.
You do, yes.
Not so much anymore, but I also in the past have put so many recipes out there for free on Homebrew Talk or
Homebrew
on
Talk
Brewer's
has a
Friend.
ton of yours,
a ton, and so that I think was the point when I was solicited. It's like, hey, you have a reputation for creating recipes that other people brew and say are good.
Yes, highly rated.
Would you be interested in doing this for me? And I said, yes.
Sure.
Especially since I have, already 200 recipes or so that have not been published. So I can, then eventually it was, hey, what do you got for an American wheat? What do you got for this? What do you got for that? I will not, the person that shall remain nameless still through this,
yes.
He did ask me to write an article for him, creating a recipe on something that was brand new to me. I'm also a winemaker. I think you guys know this. I made wine long before I was making beer. Skittle wine.
That sounds gross.
No.
Is it gross?
I wouldn't know. I only made the recipe. I said, I would never do this. But if I were to do this,
This is how I do it.
this is exactly how I would do it.
Has anyone given you feedback?
No.
Okay.
Was it on the site? Yes.
Yeah.
Have you made mead?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Lots.
So can we make a mead tomorrow? I've been wanting to make this mead for
I'm
10 years
supposed to make
now.
soap with your wife tomorrow.
How many things? And that chicken dish.
Does mead take very long to make?
No.
And so I have prickly pear juice that I
Oh, we're
collected
doing mead
and
tomorrow.
froze, and I want to do a prickly pear mead.
What kind of honey do you got?
I have really good. It's just Texas honey.
Fanes.
It's really good honey.
Local-ish.
Yeah, local.
Lamb
Very
Castle.
local.
I guess tomorrow we're going to make a mead.
Really?
That sounds awesome.
Whoa.
Actually,
I've never made one.
it will not be a mead if you use prickly pear juice. It will be a mellow mel.
Okay, well, I'm going to call it a mead.
Charlie told us it's mead.
Charlie said it was a mead. He did the original
In his
recipe.
book.
What's Charlie Papazian? Don't tell him I said that.
He doesn't watch this.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
I can't even
He
get him on
doesn't
the
know
show.
you. He won't care.
I've passed by him 30 times in my life, and every time, hi, I'm Charlie. Damn it, he doesn't remember me.
He says, hi, I'm Charlie to you?
No.
He just rolls
doesn't-
his eyes at me.
Yeah, he doesn't.
I have to tell you the story how I met Charlie. Would you like to hear
I'd
that?
love to hear that.
So this was HomebrewCon 2008 in Cincinnati, Ohio. There were 800 attendees that year, 795 men and 5 women or so, and it was a lot of fun. And I had been starstruck.
By Charlie.
Well, by Charlie. Jamil didn't make it; he was ill. But I met Denny Kahn, and I met
John Palmer.
John Palmer,
Yeah.
who actually went to the same college as my husband, so he's an honorary Yooper. And so I was pretty starstruck. So here's Charlie. I see him, and I stop. And he's talking to someone, and so I just stood back and kind of just, Charlie Papazian's in the same air as me, And his wife is beautiful and lovely, and she's standing there. And all of a sudden, I realized he had the most amazing belt buckle I have ever seen. It was obviously, you know where this is going, don't you? So it was obviously hand done, hand hammered. It was a palm tree, and it was just. And I had had a couple of beers. I know that shocked you.
Yeah, wow.
I know.
Wow.
And so as I looked at it, I realized I couldn't see it that well. So I did this number. And I looked up and I realized his wife was watching me stare at his crotch.
Well, you're one for making a good first impression, aren't you?
Oh yeah. And he doesn't know. He's talking.
Yeah.
And so she looks at me and I'm like, Sandra,
How are you?
it's the belt buckle. And so I point. And so I'm pointing,
Yeah.
and she looks,
And then she's like,
and we're both going. And she goes, "Oh, yeah, I have a story about that belt buckle. A while ago, when we were kind of hippie-ish, we had a friend in Guatemala who made this. So we're both now pointing and staring
Charlie's
at his
just
belt
standing
buckle.
there.
Well, he doesn't notice. Then he looks up,
what are these women doing?
and he goes, and someone snapped a picture.
Oh, that's fantastic.
We have a picture of Charlie putting his belt buckle out there.
That's fantastic.
Well, we're looking and pointing and totally engrossed in it.
Yeah.
And so,
Well, I only knew that there was a picture because they used that for the marketing material for HomebrewCon 2009.
Yeah.
It was Charlie's Big Crotch. It was the head, I think they call it. Portland was like Brewvana. 09 was Charlie's
Did you already do the intro?
Yes.
Maybe you should redo it and add Charlie's Big Crotch.
Yeah. The title that'll get some clicks. Yeah.
You're gonna get so sued.
No. I'm in. No way. Todd now, maybe.
Oh,
yeah, let me tell you how I met James. It involves his crotch. So anyway, no, this is how we get 1-star reviews from people.
Yes, absolutely.
They go,
absolutely.
But you're, as a female on the show, they can't say that we just took it to 8th grade boy toilet humor.
No, I did that.
Yeah.
I did that myself.
Yes, that's right.
But when you think about my intelligence level and my humor level, I'd say 8th grade boy is right in there.
Yes, right there, right in the
Right
midst.
in there. Yeah.
Well, one of the times that I met Charlie several times. He's always been very nice. But the best time ever was when we were in Germany and he did the keynote speech. And then I was walking through the Brau, the biggest trade show in Germany for beer, but probably in the world. And I'm walking through the Brau and I get to their booth. They had a booth, from American Homebrew Association at the Brau. And there's Charlie in the booth with beer, big, huge bottles of beer around him and nobody else. And I go, "Oh, hi, Charlie. Yeah, we've met before. You probably don't remember me. I'm Todd Burns, blah, blah." And he goes, "Well, sit down and have a beer with me." He was bored, but he's never bored at anything in the United States because everybody's trying to talk to him. Yeah, but he was bored, and he was like, "This was brewed by this Russian brewer that I've known for so many years, and this was brewed by a German brewer, and they've been bringing bottles by, and I sat and drank beer with him. It was quite an experience."
That would be a much better experience than having his wife.
And I did not. I'm telling you right now, not one time during the entire conversation did I stare at his crotch.
Yeah. Well, he wasn't wearing.
You don't know what you were missing by not seeing that belt buckle.
He probably didn't wear the belt buckle.
I'm thinking that's it. I'm thinking that's it.
Yeah. I have a good icebreaker next time I see Charlie.
Yeah, I know.
Hopefully he's forgotten. It's been like 13, 14 years.
Now that he's retired, he probably won't be coming to homebrew cons anymore. I mean, if they ever have him in person again.
Will.
Well, we're supposed to go to Pittsburgh in June.
Supposed to. You think that'll happen? We'll see.
If you would have asked me a year ago, I would have said, heck yes.
Yeah. Yeah, we have no
idea.
Yeah, who knows?
Yeah.
I make no plans for the future at this point, right?
Well, we've had so much fun today. Oh, by the way, I'm telling you, this is so good with a cigar. Thank you again.
Yeah, of course.
You're welcome.
Am I annoying you or what?
No, not at all. Just of course. No, why?
I don't know. You just looked at me like, "Are you going to mention that again?" So
remember
when I
Can you see my eyes?
talking about this beer?
Yeah, I do. For a long time, Founder's Breakfast Stout was. I mean, it's one of my favorite beers of all time.
It's wonderful.
It's fantastic, and so I just talked about it on the early episodes. He
talked about it every episode. And I finally banned him.
He told me,
but you let him talk about Kolsch that much?
Well, we traded. Yeah,
I can't stop him from talking.
I stopped listening, or I stopped obeying. I guess
I thought you fired him
twice.
Oh,
today.
Can you? Oh, I was going to say.
Let me get this on topic. We're talking about
beer.
You're talking about potentially downsizing because would an electric all-in-one, or are you going to use the equipment you have and try to make one of those into an all-in-one brewing a bag, or do you want to go to like a Grainfather, Anvil Foundry, one of those units?
I've seen a Grainfather in action. It looked a little messy.
Yeah.
So I really don't have a system in mind right now. But yeah, I actually would like to go to a smaller footprint because right now I'm brewing in my laundry room and it's a three vessel big old thing. But I want to find something that's perfect.
Yeah.
So I don't know if that is going to happen. But the Grainfather that I saw, because you lifted up the sparge or whatever, it was messy and
any of those electric all-in-ones of that style, the brewing a basket, right? The EBIAB,
right?
But the B is a basket, not bag.
Yeah.
In that case, we learned with the Spite Solo, all of their literature said EBIAB, and I was like, oh my god, are we supposed to put a bag in here? I don't have a bag.
No, it's a basket.
No, the B stands for they both start with B. I was like, oh yeah.
Not much gets by you, John.
Not much gets by me. Nope.
No, so and that's the thing, messier maybe, because I really have it down to where I don't make a mess.
That's impressive. You have I mean, in your laundry room, you have water. You have everything you need right there, a drain and everything.
You don't make a mess when you brew?
Not really.
I'm like Pigpen when I brew. There's water on the walls and the ceiling.
Yeah, you have the ability to do that, though, because you're not brewing in your laundry room. But
Where you have to be careful.
yes, I'm very.
Where you desire to be careful.
So you don't have a floor drain in your laundry room? What I mean,
No, I do not. And I do not have a custom-made floor drain. Actually, there have been some incidences, though, that, I plead ignorance to when asked about it. But one day I did have a minor mishap, which involved, a smallish flood of overflow from the mash tun. And I thought I got it all. I thought I did a really good job cleaning up.
But
my husband mentioned we suddenly had ants coming out from under the washing machine.
oh no.
Oops.
Yeah, oops. Did you ever admit to it being you?
He's not going to listen to this.
No, he's not.
No, I'm not going to admit
Yeah,
to that.
no.
What kind of idiot do you think I am?
I don't know. It's just-
Ants? I don't know. Maybe we should put some taro down.
yeah, how did those get in here?
No idea.
Last time we had you on for the Q&A, I think one of the questions had to do with like variety of what you enjoy brewing and all that. And your answer back then was basically whatever you feel like. Are you still of that mindset? Do you have a house beer you always like to have on? Or are you brewing just, hey, you know what? It's a good time of the year for a stout. Or I want an IPA always on tap. Or like, what is your brewing philosophy?
The saying, happy wife, happy life for you guys. For me, it's a happy husband who lifts heavy things. So we always have an IPA on tap.
That's
Sometimes
Bob's favorite?
two. Yes. He has had the lupulin shift over the last 20 years or so.
Thank you.
He used to think the best beer in the world was a Doppelbock because it was super malty.
Yeah,
right?
I love it, especially when it's cold.
Now IPA to double IPA is his favorite style.
Interesting shift.
It took him a while, but little by little, and now he's all about the IPAs. So I always have an IPA. I say almost always, but I can't think of a time in like the last 5 years where I haven't had an IPA on tap. Other beers, if there's a good IPA, like sometimes I will brew 10 gallons of something. And so if it's an IPA that I can say that I know will last, a little bit higher OG, and maybe can dry hop again right before putting it on tap, keep it cold and things, I will brew 10 gallons of that so I know he's good for a while. And then I'll make a stout or something else that I like.
So it's not the same IPA every time. It just
Almost never.
do you like IPAs?
Oh,
I mean,
yes.
okay. I thought you did,
I
but
do.
you were saying you brewed it for him and then you brewed a stout for yourself. But I thought you really liked. See, I love IPAs.
I do too.
And the other two people, I'm not going to mention any names that I brew with.
Put your hand down,
They
Josh.
do not like IPAs, and it's a problem. So sometimes I just have to brew an IPA, and then I have to suffer through 15 gallons of it myself.
That stinks.
Yeah,
Poor you. Poor you.
why would you? I mean, tell me that this isn't.
It's fabulous.
It's fabulous. Why wouldn't you want this on tap all the time?
Because I don't want anything on tap all the time.
Me either. Thank you.
And like you said with
I don't have any
IPAs.
beer, but thank you.
Go get a beer.
Lorena, ask Todd what I have. If I had my
He's
choice,
busy. He's getting
if
beer.
if I had my choice, Todd, what do I have for breakfast?
Breakfast stout?
No.
Omelets. Omelets.
omelets.
Everyone knows this.
Omelets for breakfast, omelets for lunch, probably omelets for dinner if he could.
I do.
And then for dessert,
I have another omelet. My cholesterol is terrible. I'm a man of, I say a man of convenience. That's a nice way of saying I'm lazy and I'm a creature of habit, because I do, my wife, it bugs her to no end. If we go to a restaurant, and they tell me already, and we've had the menu in our hand for like 5 minutes, I already know what I want because I know what I like from that restaurant.
Right.
And she'll go, "You're boring. Why don't you try something else?" No, because I know what I like from this place. I don't need to venture around. She's like, "Well, I feel like this." Fantastic. But you know what's here. You should know what you want. She doesn't buy into that, which it's whatever.
so you go back to the question of, do I always have the same IPA on tap? Almost never.
Yeah.
I mean, I have made favorites.
Yeah.
But I might go a year before making the same IPA again. Actually, right now, I have one of the last kits I got from your ingredients company, and it's the Celebration, Sierra Nevada Celebration.
Isn't it so good?
I like that
It's
beer.
so good.
Now, you developed that beer, didn't you?
Yeah.
Yeah, that was your recipe.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. But the ingredients are great too.
Yeah.
I can't think of a recipe. It was either James did them or they were from you.
The lager ones, I've done some lagers for you guys, but I think the last time I brewed a Kolsch was from James, from you.
How'd it turn out?
It was fabulous.
His recipe's awesome. This is his recipe.
This is his recipe. It was
James'.
fabulous. Mine might have been a little better.
Yeah.
I actually believe you.
I might have got a little bit of fruitiness out of the yeast. Kind of more, typical of a Kolsch, but still finished clear. It was actually, it was perfect. It was like a perfect Kolsch. And I'm trying to think what else, the other lager I did recently.
Was it a Czech? He has a nice.
No, because I have my own recipe for my Bow Pills and my German.
Okay, he has a Pilsner or Quell clone.
Is it really good?
So good.
And he did that one?
Yeah.
I can't remember, but I've done, and I don't do that many lagers anymore, just because by the time I do maybe a Kolsch and an IPA, that's a lot of beer.
It is a lot of beer. For just you and Bob.
Yeah, for Bob and I, and we've both kind of cut down on the amount of beer we're consuming on a daily basis.
Well, let's talk about that.
I can't wait to visit you sometime.
Come up
and try your beers
Love
on
that.
tap. You have them on tap all the time.
all the time.
I want to visit too, but your Florida place.
Oh, okay. Well,
yeah, I
I
don't
have
wanna go to
only
Florida.
one beer on tap in Florida.
But how close are you to Disney?
An hour and
Exactly.
20 minutes.
You had me at an hour. And
But I still stay in a
wanna
hotel when I go.
I want to go to Michigan. I haven't
Come up-
been to that. I mean, I love Florida. Don't get me wrong, but I've been there a bunch of times. I really want to go to Michigan.
We love the UP of Michigan.
One of my favorite styles of beer is an English beer. What is the beer? We have a true to style version of it. What is it called?
the fan favorite ESB.
ESB. What? So when you brew an ESB, what is your favorite hop to put in there?
Kent Goldings. East Kent.
Kent
Goldings.
I was saying you knew that was the alternative.
Yeah.
We for some backstory for this inside joke, we were at Homebrew Con. I believe it was Homebrew Con Portland, and we're walking around with Lorena because we couldn't. I mean,
You couldn't get rid of me.
No. She couldn't get rid of us. Yeah, that's what it was. But we go to this. It was club night. And we go to a table, and they had a delicious ESB, and you taste it, and you go, too much fuggles. Like that. Like,
Yeah, and then she said something about I
hate.
fuggles, but she had a word that rhymed with fuggles, I think, in front of it, but I can't remember what
Didn't
the word
rhyme
was
with it. I
now.
think it started with the same
It was alliteration.
letter.
Yeah.
It was just it was alliteration.
Sorry. Thanks, Josh and Josh. Yeah.
Remember that English major thing?
That wasn't him. Yeah, it was alliteration. It was this effing fuggles, or I effing hate fuggles. Why? What is wrong with fuggles?
Aside from it tasting like dirt?
It has an earthy tone to it. I mean, that's a nice descriptor. I love ESB.
It tastes like soil smells.
Oh goodness! And you're what level of judge are you again?
Oh, I'm just certified.
Actually, I'll segue this into something relevant. So whoever hasn't dropped off yet, because how much I'm digressing or how much we're digressing. It's not just me.
Blame me.
Last night we were having a conversation. It was so interesting to me. You were telling me how you would. Now, I don't know if the word was enjoy, but you feel like you're a great judge of styles you don't like because you have no skin in the game.
I like that
Right.
story.
Right.
Yeah.
So
When you become a BJCP judge, you do a lot of sensory perception taste testing, really training your palate and things. And what's hard for me is even if a beer is not an example of the classic style, if I like it, it's really hard to put those subjective things aside and score directly by the score sheet.
Yeah.
So when I am asked to judge, I will either volunteer. I cannot do sours. That many sours kind of bothers my stomach. But I will judge styles that I'm not really a big aficionado of, like Hefeweizen,
Okay.
certain Belgians.
ESB.
I did category 8 in Philadelphia, which was English ales, because I can go down through the style guidelines and say yes to this, no's to this, yes it's flowery, no it's this, no it's that, and really kind of pick it apart better.
Yeah.
But if I really go, oh, I like this beer. Is it a classic style? No. Is it this? No. And maybe a better judge could discern better. But I know that I really, really, when I judge, I really want to give really great feedback and take my personal subjective out of the equation, whether I like the beer or not. And so if I don't like it, I'm really a good judge of it because I can kind of pick it apart. If I don't like that particular style, I don't want to say don't like the beer.
Right.
I did share with you guys, of course, one of the worst. I've had two really bad beers in competition. One, they were both in the same competition. It was Dead of the Winter Stout competition by Homebrew Club. And the first beer they brought to me to judge that I found objectionable was a French onion soup stout.
That sounds so bad.
And it was because they nailed it.
They nailed it. It's so disgusting. But again,
so
though,
funny.
there is no subcategory in the BJCP book.
No, this was a non-BJCP
Okay,
competition for fun, and there were some
Gotcha.
great ones. There was a cream brulee stout that was like Southern Tiers, so there were some good ones in there. The other beer in that same competition was a rosemary stout, and I think with a little bit of age, it might have been okay.
Rosemary stout.
Yeah,
That's
rosemary stuff.
I'd kind of like to try that actually.
It tasted like lamb roast.
Wow. Huh.
That
it.
doesn't sound appealing to me.
I love lamb roast.
No,
and I love stout.
to eat. Yeah, I don't want to drink a lamb roast.
So
I would try it. Yeah.
yeah, I tried it.
So, yeah, that a lamb roast beer. I like that.
When you're making a recipe, I know from James, because I've asked him this a million times, his process is always go straight to the book, the guideline, and to build from there. What is your approach to do? Do you always start at the BJCP book, or are you starting with prior? I mean, in the early days of making recipes, how about that? Because I'm sure by now you already know. Sure. I'm going to do a West Coast Pale. I know
the stats.
Right. So when you were starting, how did you formulate your recipes? Like, what was your method?
I think that's exactly how I did it, was to kind of consider maybe not. One of the things when you become a BJCP judge, you memorize the style guidelines.
Sure.
They've changed since 2006. Because they changed in 2008 and 2000. But they're similar still, and they've just regrouped some of the things and added some new categories. And I think, I kind of know what a classic Munich Dunkel is going to be, what it's going to include, what's in it, what you're going to do. But yeah, I will definitely consider, if it's a style I don't make a lot, the style guidelines or what I know of them, also what I like. I really, really, really like, if I make an English beer, I really like crisp Maris Otter malt. I like that malt, and I do a lot of my English
It's reliable.
beers with that.
Okay.
Reliable, classic, and I like East Kent Golding's hops. And from there, I know I like medium crystal, usually Baird's. So I know I like those things already, and that's kind of where I'll start. I do use some brewing software to get my gravities and things. I use Brewer's Friend for that. But yeah, I think the style guidelines plus personal preference and experience and water. I am really interested in good water for good beer.
And as long as I've known you, you've always have been. Like, that's always been your thing. I remember did you go to John's talk at that HomebrewCon 2018 or whenever he gave that big talk on water before they started making it a premium? Because remember, now in HomebrewCons, the last one in person, they had like premium talks, or like then you had to pay even more. People were like, oh, come on, don't do that. But John did a talk on water maybe 2018 or 2017.
I probably went.
Because I just remember you being like, I got to get to water's been
my thing. It's my thing. And the reason it's my thing is because I really didn't know anything about brewing water. I had heard when I first started brewing, if it's good enough to brew with, or if it's good enough to drink, it's good enough to brew with.
Sure.
Right? That's not true.
What's changed then? I mean, like, you just realized, if I'm going to do you have to keep touching that? God.
What? It was falling.
You don't have a headphone? Oh, okay.
It was falling.
You don't have headphones on. All you hear is you're the worst. God, you're the
I'm
worst.
not touching anything.
He's the worst. I'm not going to edit that out either. I need people to know he's the worst.
You're going to get fired again for the third time.
The third time in one day.
You're fired.
Yeah. I'm going to edit that out.
No, and I get what you're saying. No, what happened was, and I did brew with my beer, and my beers were okay.
Just offer your municipality water.
Yeah. And it was okay, and some were really good.
I bet.
Some were not so good, and I thought, why is this not so good? And I noticed the first beer that I noticed that it wasn't so good was Kolsch. Well, I thought, what would make a really good Kolsch? And so I did a little research, and I realized I have really alkaline water.
Right.
A lot of bicarbonate in my water, and so the mash pH was wrong. So it didn't. Then that starts a whole rabbit hole. You guys know all about rabbit holes. All brewers know about rabbit holes. So
we tend to use RO water, and we have the best of intentions of adding things to it, but we don't.
That's true.
So we're bad, and you should make us better.
You should.
But it's not bad. This is great. My
pop and I actually use his well water is what we use, and I've never done a test on it either. We're just
But if the beer, and I guess I would tell you that to all homebrewers, or even pro brewers, because I know there's pro brewers who have good water that don't do anything. I also know a lot of pro brewers who have not good water in San Marcos, and their beer's terrible. But
I'm not in San Marcos though. Not when I'm brewing.
You've been drinking in San Marcos.
You don't like the water in San Marcos? For brewing, that is. Because it tastes delicious off the tap.
It does. My water in the UP of Michigan is delicious off the tap.
What's wrong with the San Marcos water? Now I'm personally invested.
The alkalinity.
Oh, no way.
Yeah.
So when
you brew with RO anyway, don't you?
No, sir. No, we've been brewing off of just the well water.
But see, the well water might be different than the water that the breweries are using in the city. I don't know. I don't know what's in your dad's well.
No,
but,
totally.
But as a rule,
so when I brew, because I have that G40 from Grainfather to test out, and I'm going to take it home and brew in my garage. You're saying don't use San Marcos water for the Kolsch I'm going to make.
I would not.
Okay.
Especially without testing. You know, one thing you could do, or any brewers can do, get one of those real cheap aquarium, I think they're called GH hardness things.
Yes.
They're like $8 for an aquarium.
Yeah.
You at least know your alkalinity.
Well, what if he did RO? What would you put in it for Kolsch? Do you know off the top of your head?
Almost nothing.
Okay.
What I would do is probably use enough calcium chloride to get my calcium to 40 to 50 parts per million, because that really helps precipitate out the stuff that causes beer stone.
Okay.
Okay. And for yeast health, although you don't really need it. And that, maybe if I couldn't get my calcium to 50 without bringing up my chloride too high, smidgen of gypsum, because noble hops and sulfate do not play well together. They get harsher.
Yeah.
So that's all I would do. But I would target a match pH of about 5.3.
Okay.
And so it would add no alkalinity, no bicarbonate with the.
So I have all the chemicals to do it, and I always say I'm going to do it, and then I heat the water up and I start brewing, and I forgot to do the chemical thing. So I need to learn.
Well, you know what I said? It clears your beer for yeast health, and it will precipitate oxalates or whatever. This beer is perfectly clear. It tastes great.
Okay.
I didn't notice any beer stone in your kettles. It's working for you.
Okay.
I think we all, it's certain personalities of brewers, engineers, IT people, will really tend to overthink things.
Yeah.
Don't overthink it. If the beer is great and you enjoy it and you feel like maybe it could improve if I added 5 grams of calcium chloride, go ahead.
All right.
You're not going to hurt.
You think I've ever been accused of overthinking? Come on.
I wasn't talking to you.
Yeah. How dare you?
I was talking to your listeners.
You know, I hate to rush us, and I don't know what time it is. Do we need to turn a light on, by the way?
If you want to, that'd be great.
So,
actually. And then I'll segue to the.
We got to get questions because we have to go get her husband.
Oh, that's true. Yeah,
He is pig hunting right now.
Yeah.
Well,
and we're gonna have to pick.
Turn the lights on.
Actually, he just texted me and said, "There's a beautiful buck at the feeder right now, but there are no hogs."
Yeah, that's I almost guarantee you that's that young
That beautiful
10
buck.
point. That's just such a beautiful deer. Yeah,
All right, let me get to these questions.
deer and beer. We can
And then we'll wrap it up because we gotta go pick up Bob. All right, Lance, and all these, because I didn't specifically say, hey, we're having Lorena on, give me questions. I had to go back in time. Some of these are from the last time you were on, and I didn't take them, so it works out. And they get their $25 gift card to catconnection.com anyway for submitting the question. Lance, who used the submission form at homebrewhappyhour.com, wrote, "Hey Josh, great work on YouTube and your website," because it was right when we had redone the website.
Okay.
It was like 2 years ago. "I have a question about conditioning. What does it mean in a technical sense? Is it just aging? Does it have to be in bottles, or can you condition in a keg? Thank you for helping this new guy understand. Cheers." What are your thoughts on conditioning? Do you do it? Do you practice it? Or are you impatient like me?
All of the above, because I've been known to drink a beer that's only been kegged for 20 minutes. But it has conditioned, and so condition. A lot of things happen, and there's cold conditioning, lagering, and in the case of like a lengthy cold conditioning, things happen like polyphenols will drop out, excess tannins, it'll crisp up, it does change. When ales are conditioned, you can cold condition them too, and it'll help clear it a little bit, especially drop chill haze and things out. But to me, conditioning means getting the beer to its peak.
Okay.
And in a breakfast stout, it might take 4 months.
Right. Yeah.
And not through any brewing mistakes, but just because for those flavors to meld, to come together, to drop off any excess tannins out, to just really become its best, just like really good wines.
So when you say sorry to interrupt you, when you say 4 months, do you mean 4 months cold conditioning at a certain temperature? What do you mean?
No,
by that?
actually, beer will age faster at room temperature.
Okay.
Now, your 80-degree temperature here in Texas is different than my 62-degree temperature in Upper Michigan. So, you don't say, well, this beer needs some age, so I'm going to put it at 90 degrees for 2 weeks. But that's why a lot of cellars are 55 degrees, because that seems to be a really good, if you're going to age something for a period of time.
That's the sweet spot.
It's kind of the sweet spot.
That's kind of fascinating, because one of the things we're always mad about with our chiller is we can't get it below 50. It's right at 50, 51, 52 degrees.
Perfect for aging, for fairly long term. Like when you cellar, like Sierra Nevada's Bigfoot.
Yeah.
You're going to cellar that at 55. I've cellared it for 3, 4, 6 years.
Well, I was going to say I had a 3-year-old Bigfoot. Delicious.
Fabulous.
I'm not even a big fan of barley wine, but
it's really good.
It is really
it's
good.
It's a really good beer. So yeah, conditioning is more about getting your beer to reach its peak at a reasonable time frame.
Okay.
At 40 degrees, you could probably age anything for a couple of years, but if something needs a little bit of age, if you taste it, it tastes a little bit rough. A little bit of aging at a reasonable temperature will.
Are there styles more palpable, or I'm trying to think of the word to use, like that are better for aging than others? Like a Kolsch, I can't imagine trying to age a Kolsch. There's no reason to.
No, and it will, since it's already been cold conditioned and it's kind of at its peak now, might get a little more carbonation in the next few days.
Right.
Yeah, there's no reason to age that. But that Bigfoot barley wine, absolutely. It might be a little rough out of the bottle initially, and so you age it, it'll mellow, it'll smooth. So, old beer is old beer, but properly aged, bigger beers with a higher original gravity, beers that have complex ingredients, roast or something that just really takes some time. Those are really great. IPAs, everyone knows this probably by now, but beers, the really hoppy beers, the first thing that will start to fade is the aroma, a little bit of the flavor, way before it tastes oxidized and things. So those beers are better fresh, but a little bit of age, might not hurt those.
It was funny because I remember we had a question a year ago or so. Remember someone said, hey, I have this New England IPA. I want to age it. What do you suggest? And I think James was like, don't age it. Like that defeats the purpose, right? Of what you want out of a New England IPA. The haziness, the hop burst, all that kind of goes away, right? When if you were to age it, does it not? Am I wrong?
To an extent. Okay. I think though with people with newer brewers maybe, or people that really went to a place and got a big old glass of orange juice, I think it's how it's supposed to be, and if you like it, it is how it's supposed to be.
Right.
But I have had some really good New England IPAs that weren't 2 days old. Well,
it's interesting because that was kind of the original purpose of an IPA. Was they put it on a ship, they sent it from England, they put all these hops in it to preserve it. So you could argue that the original IPAs that were drank in India were very much aged on a ship.
And those probably picked up a lot of Brett character from the barrels.
Yeah.
Right.
Right. So that was a whole different beer than what an American IPA is today, or even an English IPA.
Don't you think ancient beer probably tasted terrible?
Oh yeah,
they
were probably all infected.
I know. Yeah, I've always said that. I was like, people romanticize it. Like, I want to brew like they did in the 1800s. No, you don't. We have technology.
Well, you can brew like that, but I wouldn't want to drink it.
Oh yeah. All right, we'll wrap this up and then go pick up Bob. Last question. Pardon me. I have 2 more questions. Real quick. Albert, he used our hotline at 325-305-6107. Hello from Arizona. I'm interested in making kombucha. Do I need to have a separate vessel, Scoby Hotel, or can I serve from the same vessel I'm fermenting in? I'd like to keep as small a footprint as possible.
Yeah, you can serve directly from that vessel. The thing is, it's a little messy, and each time you make a batch of kombucha, you will form a new Scoby, and more stuff. So eventually, it
takes over.
Well, and it'll clog up your dip tubes.
Yeah.
So normally I ferment in one vessel and move it over to its own keg. I have one keg for kombucha just because I'd like to keep those microbes as contained as possible.
Are you using a glass carboy for your Scoby Hotel, or do you use a keg for your Scoby Hotel?
Oh, I use glass, but I don't use a carboy. I have them in a old pickle jar that is real clean. It's tall and thin, and I have all my Scobies all lined up in there.
Do you really?
Oh, yeah.
Wait, what volume of batches are you doing kombucha in? I thought you were doing 5.
I usually do 3 now. I have a 3-gallon keg form, but I do 5. But the problem is when you do it in a carboy, you can't get those darn Scobies back out.
Oh, I use a wide mouth. I do use a wide.
Yeah, I have this regular carboy. So,
those are terrible. Yeah.
So I rip it to shreds and everything. So my hotel is its own vessel. When I do have a Scoby, I take it out and store it.
And I brought this question because I love kombucha. We've been talking about brewing that as well as mead and other stuff up here, but we haven't done it.
What do you?
Not a fan. No,
he doesn't like it, but you have family or some.
I have a lot of family that like. I mean, I can drink one, but I'm just not.
I love it raw, but I was going to tell Albert, one of the reasons I like keeping them separate is because I like kegging the kombucha because I like it to be carbonated. Mm-hmm. I don't think I'd want to carbonate a Scoby Hotel. Well, first off, my Scoby Hotel is in a wide mouth glass. I don't feel comfortable adding pressure to glass. No. Todd doesn't mind.
No,
a little.
Yeah, I can't stand it. I run to the other room. It's like an atom bomb to me. But I prefer to serve it carbonated. And so you can't do that from the same vessel. Right. Probably. Can you do a Scoby Hotel in a keg? I mean, I wouldn't.
You could, but then the other thing is when you have that many Scobies in there and that much starter tea, you are probably going to change the composition of the microbes in there. You might lean more to acetic acid versus lactic acid versus yeast. And so when I do it, I take my starter tea and I take my Scoby out of the Scoby Hotel, put that in a new vessel. And even that, I would not carbonate in. Mm-hmm. The other thing I like to do is add some flavoring. Well, I don't. A lot of people do it. They add their flavoring and secondary fermentation and bottle it, but I'd have to strain it coming out. I just really like having it in the keg, and I just pour it carbonated. Yeah. If you're not a kegger and you have to bottle, put them in bottles, get it out of that, the other Scobies and the other strong kombucha.
So if you were like in a best case scenario, Albert, a lot of people I see, they use those tea serving with the spigot at the bottom. You could totally have your Scoby Hotel and serve from the bottom. But like Lorena was saying, eventually you're going to start tasting the Scoby. Yeah. Or some particles are going to make their way into your pour. Mm-hmm. It's not the worst thing in the world, but it's not enjoyable when you chew on a Scoby. Right. In my opinion. Some people love that stuff. Like, oh, it's good for my gut. No, that's why I'm drinking the stuff. Right. I don't want to eat.
Microbes are microscopic, so they're in the liquid as well.
Exactly. Thank you. All right, last question, and then we'll go pick up Bob from the stand.
Poor Bob. He's pointing in the dark.
Rich at Homebrew Happy Hour, using the submission form at homebrewhappyhour.com, wrote, what's easier to make, sauerkraut or kimchi? Any resources for recipes? And this was one that Rich did ask when we had you on the live Q&A, and I apologize, Rich. It took me 2 years because I remember him hitting me up later, goes, hey, I still want those recipes for sauerkraut or kimchi. What does she think? So what are your thoughts on this 2 years later?
They're about the same difficulty-wise. I'd start with sauerkraut, though, just because it's one ingredient. It's cabbage.
With kimchi, it can be anything, right? Any vegetable.
Yeah, I use some vegetables, and I might have to do a brine or a paste or something. So I would say you measure out 3% salt by weight of the cabbage, kind of pound it into the cabbage, weight it down with the weight, cover it, and you have sauerkraut. There is actually some recipes. A book I was a technical editor of this past year just came out. It's called Fermentation Kitchen by Gabe Toth. And he has recipes in there that I have actually kind of edited as well and agree that those are good at a good
Fermentation Kitchen. Is it published already?
It's published. It's out. It's by Brewer's Publications.
Well, then we'll put the link in the show notes.
I absolutely love both of those things, unlike kombucha. But I've never made either one. I would love to. Tomorrow, when we're making soap
and mead, do
you think we could throw that in as well?
Sure.
Yeah. There's 24 hours in a day. technically.
And if we don't sleep, we have all 24 to work.
And we have beer. We don't need sleep.
Oh, Lord have mercy. I love you coming to the ranch.
Yes,
I love
this
it
is
too.
great.
I'll do anything Todd says if I can get to come back.
This is the best trip ever. I do appreciate your time. And yeah, you are the fermentation queen. If people aren't familiar with her, go look. If you're a member of the AHA, you can go watch any of her talks at Homebrew Cons. They make them available to members, don't they?
Yes.
Like they archive it.
Yep.
And you did one called, I think, Ferment This, or I Can Ferment This, or I Will Ferment This. But it was you with Tupperware full of fermented stuff one year, and because I remember you bringing it by the booth because some of the stuff didn't smell that great. But I think it was just the process of fermentation. Sometimes it's not, but it probably tasted great. But you're a longtime fan of fermenting almost anything.
That's absolutely.
So,
if it doesn't move, I will ferment it.
Yeah, and if you're not a member and you don't want to join, maybe we can can we commission you to do a fermentation presentation on things that aren't beer? Because believe it or not, we have a lot of people. Beer in our audience has almost been a gateway to other beverages, and then from there, other things like, oh my God, I could ferment whatever, like this sauerkraut or kimchi.
Cheese is a fermented product.
Cheese is a fermented product.
Yes.
I love cheese.
Well, I would love to talk to you about that.
Let's do that. Let's
do it.
Let's find a way. Let's do a presentation. Let's do a demonstration.
I want to make kimchi. That sounds so cool to me.
Really fun.
Anyways, we appreciate your time. Thank you so much for letting me set up the mics and you agreeing to sit down and talk, because it has been a busy day and you're on vacation and I still put you to work.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Thank you. And that will do it for this episode of the Homebrew Happy Hour. If you have a question that you would like